Okay, so what if, like, you saw something with your own eyes, but you couldn't actually believe it? I mean, what if a video could, like, completely make up stuff a leader was saying or doing, even cause, like, a whole political crisis?
Yeah.
Well, that is the future that this project, The Whispers of Al-Khalij, is sort of pushing us to think about.
Right.
And it's really interesting because they use this kind of cool blend of, like, cutting-edge tech with this ancient Bahraini folklore.
Yeah, what's so interesting is how this project, sets all this stuff in the Gulf region, right? A place where, like, trusting the spoken word, like stories, people telling you things, has always been so important, paramount.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you've got to imagine, that trust being totally shattered by deepfakes.
Oh,
These videos that are so seamlessly manipulated that you can't even tell what's real anymore.
It's true, and it's so vivid in the project description, too. It's like these gleaming skyscrapers right next to these crumbling wind towers.
Right.
And it's almost like this collision of the future and the past.
Yeah.
And in that sort of crash, truth becomes this really fragile thing.
It does. And that's really where the project hits a nerve, right?
Yeah.
Because imagine, deepfakes of, like, Gulf leaders causing all this unrest and turmoil.
Yeah.
And it plays on that tension we were talking about a second ago.
Right.
Between what we've always relied on, stories, traditions, things people tell us, and this digital world where anything can be just made up, fabricated.
And it's like, it makes me think of those times you see something online and you're like, wait, is that real?
Right.
But this is like that feeling times 1,000.
Exactly. It's not just that the technology is out there.
Right.
It's that someone could use it to manipulate things.
Right.
And that's what makes this project so fascinating. I mean, the designer behind The Whispers of Al-Khalij is an AI.
Wait, the designer's an AI?
Yes, a fictional AI.
That's crazy.
I know, right?
Okay. Al-Haddad 10129.
Al-Haddad 10129. Okay.
And they use folklore, fashion trends, even sci-fi to, like, create these different scenarios.
Yeah.
So this AI is, like, making these super potent deepfakes, but the goal isn't actually to, like, deceive people.
Exactly. It's like Al-Haddad 10129 is holding up this mirror and saying, look how easily truth can be totally distorted.
Wow.
The project's more about showing how vulnerable we are in this digital age.
Okay, but how does folklore play into all this?
Well, think about, like, the jinn.
Yeah.
These supernatural beings in all those traditional stories.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine them brought to life in these crazy, realistic deepfakes.
Oh, wow.
It mixes the familiar with the unsettling.
Right.
And it taps into these deeply ingrained cultural beliefs to make the threat feel even more real.
That is brilliant.
Right.
So if you can't even trust what you see with your own eyes, then what can you trust?
Right.
This is kind of a wake-up call, don't you think?
It really is. It's a warning about how trust is eroding. And it's a challenge for all of us to become more critical about the information we're taking in, especially in a world where technology can just blur the lines between what's real and what's completely made up.
Yeah, this feels so relevant to, like, everyone, not just the Gulf.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right.
This kind of technology goes way beyond any one region or place. We're all susceptible to this in the digital age.
Yeah.
But there's another layer to this project, too. A call to action that we need to dig into a little bit more.
Okay, so we've said that the future in The Whispers of Al-Khalij is a pretty unsettling place.
Right.
But, like, what can we actually do about it? Where do we even begin?
I think the project is pushing us to be more, skeptical, discerning, like that old saying, trust but verify.
Right.
That's so important now more than ever.
So we can't just take everything we see online at face value.
Exactly.
We have to be like these digital detectives, always looking for signs of manipulation.
Exactly. And The Whispers of Al-Khalij gives us some tools to do that.
Right.
On the project website, they have this whole section about media literacy.
Okay.
With tips on, like, how to verify images and videos, spot the telltale signs of a deep fake.
That's helpful, I guess.
Yeah.
But it still feels like so much work. Imagine having to, like, scrutinize every single thing you see online.
Well, yeah, you don't have to be paranoid or distrust everything.
Okay.
It's more about having a healthy skepticism, being critical.
Right.
And, like anything, the more you practice these skills, the easier it gets.
So it's like, instead of being overwhelmed by all the potential for deception, we can actually learn how to identify it and protect ourselves.
Exactly.
That's kind of empowering.
It is. And it's not just about protecting yourself individually either.
Right.
Think about the bigger picture, like, if people can't tell what's true and what's fake, it undermines trust in, like, everything, institutions, the media, even each other.
It's like the whole fabric of society starts to unravel if we can't even agree on the basic facts.
Exactly, and that's what the Whispers of Alkalish is trying to prevent.
Okay.
It's a call to action to reclaim our agency in this digital world,
Right.
to be active in shaping the future of information.
It makes you think about the role of education in all of this. Like if we start teaching media literacy skills early on,
Yes.
maybe future generations will be better equipped to handle all of this.
Absolutely. Education is key. We need to teach critical thinking, how to evaluate sources, how to recognize bias.
Yeah.
It's about giving people the power to be informed,
Right.
to be discerning about the information they're taking in.
So it's not just about finding some tech solution.
Right.
It's about a fundamental shift in how we think about information itself.
Exactly. And the Whispers of Al-Khalij does a great job of highlighting that. It's not just a warning, it's a roadmap for a more resilient future.
I'm curious, are there any real-world examples where deepfakes have actually caused harm?
Unfortunately, yes, there have been cases where deepfakes were used to discredit people, spread misinformation, even manipulate financial markets. It's a growing problem, and the tech is only getting better.
That's scary. But you said before that this project focuses on the Gulf region. Are there any specific reasons why that region is particularly vulnerable to deepfakes?
That's a great question. It's not necessarily about vulnerability, but about the unique context.
Okay.
The Gulf is a place where respect for authority is really deeply ingrained. So imagine the impact of a deepfake that appears to show a respected leader saying something controversial.
Yeah.
It could be really powerful, even destabilizing.
So the cultural context really changes the potential impact of deepfakes. It's not just the technology, it's how that technology interacts with the existing social and political dynamics.
Exactly. And the Whispers of Al-Khalij captures that nuance beautifully.
Yeah.
It's not just a general warning about deepfakes, it's an exploration of how this technology could play out in a specific cultural setting.
This whole conversation makes me feel like we're on the edge of a huge shift in how we understand and interact with information.
Yeah.
I mean, if seeing is no longer believing, then what is the basis of trust? It feels like we're back to like square one.
Right?
If we can't even rely on our own eyes and ears, then like what can we rely on?
That's the question, isn't it?
Right. How do we rebuild trust in a world where anything can be faked?
Yeah, I think the Whispers of Al-Khalij gives us some answers.
Right.
It's not about finding one perfect solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's about building like a whole new set of skills and attitudes.
Like what specifically?
Well, one thing is we need to be way more careful about where we get our information.
Okay.
So instead of just believing everything we see online,
Yeah.
we have to stop and think about the source.
Right.
Look for like verification from reputable fact-checking groups.
So we're like our own fact checkers.
Exactly.
Not just taking in info, but like actively engaging with it, questioning it, verifying it.
Right. And that also means being aware of our own biases.
Oh, yeah.
We all have them.
Totally.
And they can make us more likely to believe misinformation that like already fits our worldview.
That's so true.
Okay.
It's easy to just believe something because it, confirms what you already think, even if it's not true.
Exactly. And we also need to demand more transparency from people in power. From tech companies, from media outlets, from our leaders.
Right.
We need to hold them accountable for spreading misinformation and push for solutions that like prioritize truth and accuracy.
So it's not just about individual responsibility.
No.
It's about systemic change, too.
Absolutely. It's going to be a multi-pronged approach.
Right.
We got to give individuals the tools and skills they need, and we need to create systems that reward truth and punish deception.
This whole deep dive into the Whispers of Al-Khalij has been really eye-opening.
Yeah.
It's made me realize that the future of information isn't something that just happens to us.
Right.
It's something we all have a role in shaping.
I'm glad to hear that. And that's exactly the message of the project.
Yeah.
It's a call to action, to be vigilant, to be informed, and to be engaged in creating a future where truth and trust win.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Whispers of Al-Khalij. If you found this interesting, we encourage you to share it with others and keep the conversation going. The future of information depends on